your Bible covered in yours today. You went to Catholic school, didn't you? I did? We always covered our books. Had to keep them good throughout the year. How funny, I've never noticed that.
And when he did that, he was at the end, he had to sit down.
Now, our book covers all said IGA. Back when there was such a thing as IGA. All depends on which region you come from. My mom, the 2 years, almost 3 years after high school before she married my father, she worked at IGA in a little town out there in the Thumb. So she was always partial to IGA. Not that we had that many options anyway. We thought, and where was this?
They're very good.
Oh, Piggly Wiggly's up there? I thought that was a southern thing. Wow. The South and the UP. The UP had a special honor this week. Did you hear that? I think it was Monday? No, yesterday was Monday, right? Must have been Friday or Saturday. The high for the state was in the UP, and so was the low. It was just a matter of which end you were at.
There was snow up there.
That's Michigan in May, or at least close to it. All right. Let's spiritualize the story that we just shared. Jacob, in this mysterious story, wrestles with an angel or God, some divine being, right? We're going to leave it as it is because we don't fully grasp it. Have you ever wrestled with God? Marie, you're nodding your head.
Yeah,
Without being too personal, what do you mean by nodding yes, I have?
just in a life struggle. It's like, why? Or do you not hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why this story was left in here.
could be.
Maybe it was left in here for people of Israel and for us years and centuries later to ask that simple question. Jacob wrestles with the Lord. I find myself wrestling with the Lord. I would say most people who take their life and their faith seriously would answer yes to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay? And this just came to me in the hallway, as a matter of fact. No, not the whole, no, but having this concept in mind, my sister-in-law is married to my brother-in-law, Phil, and we've been praying very, very hard for the last 5 years because Phil's cousin, his little boy was born with a severe heart defect. And they have done everything they possibly can. This little boy has had over 30 surgeries, and now he's waiting for a heart. That's his last hope. So last Friday, we were lighting candles and saying special prayers because they were hoping he would survive a procedure to not put in, that was my misunderstanding. He's on a heart pump that is not inside his body, but is outside his body. And so that's what's keeping him going until a heart becomes available. The most anyone has ever survived, even a little child, because children tend to do better on those things than adults, is 230 days. So when he went on that machine last Friday, what do you think happened to those parents?
The countdown.
Countdown, exactly, Jan. The countdown has begun. And as my wonderful wife Erin has said several times these past few weeks, the problem is if they rejoice because he gets a heart, somebody has lost a child. So my friends, do we wrestle with God? You darn bet we do. And that might be an extreme example, but we all have those times in our life when we go, God, are you even hearing me? Do you not see what I'm dealing with here? We wrestle with God. maybe that's the best lesson for this very peculiar story that we don't fully comprehend or understand. That there are times, even in the deepest of faith, when we will say, Lord, what? Or why? Normally why? So, having said that, we move on. Chapter 33. Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming, accompanied by 400 men. So he divided his children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants, putting the maids and their children first, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. I'm sorry, but that's just so. That is so human. That is so bloody human. First of all, let's stop for a minute, because I thought of this on break. Again, I want to review it. We just glossed over something. Jacob is on the move with everything he owns, right?
Yeah.
Everything that is part of his life, including his spouses, etc. How many children does he have?
11.
It was in there. Did you catch that?
Yes.
11 children. How many will he eventually have? Why do we know that? 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? The 12 sons of Jacob become the 12 sons of Israel. There's the new name now. The 12 tribes of Jacob will become the 12 tribes of Israel. So we know the family's not complete yet. Because when all this is happening, the youngest is still missing. Okay? So as he's going to meet his brother and these 400 men, he puts the servants and their kids out front, Leah and then Rachel and Joseph last. There is such humanness in that. Like, just in case things go bad. Okay? Get the kids out front you don't like most. Good advice for any parent, right? Good grief. Okay. Verse 3. He himself went on ahead of them, bowing to the ground 7 times until he reached his brother. Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and flinging himself on his neck, kissed him as he wept. Well, didn't this turn out better than we thought? Verse 5. When Esau looked about, he saw the women and the children. Who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, They are the children whom God has graciously bestowed upon your servant. Then the maidservants and their children came forward and bowed low. Next, Leah and her children came forward and bowed low. Lastly, Rachel and her children came forward and bowed low. Then Esau asked, What did you intend with all those droves that I encountered? Jacob answered, It was to gain my Lord's favor. I have plenty, replied Esau. You should keep what is yours, brother. No, I beg you, said Jacob. If you will do me this favor, please accept this gift from me, since to come into your presence is for me like coming into the presence of God, now that you have received me so kindly. Do accept the present I have brought you. God has been generous toward me, and I have an abundance. Since he so urged him, Esau accepted. What did Jacob do the first thing when he enters Esau's presence?
Bow.
He bows down.
7
How many
times?
times?
7 times.
The sacred 7. The sacred 7. The sacred 7 is going to be all throughout the story.
Are all Jacob's kids from the 2 women, or some from the slaves also?
He has children from the maidservants.
What? No.
Then he has children from Leah. And interestingly enough, it mentions Rachel and Joseph, but then later on in what we just read, it says Rachel and her children. So again, she must have had daughters, as well as Joseph the beloved. So yes, I'm glad you picked up on that.
Why did he have it with maidservants when he had Leah and Rachel?
Were you not here for that part of the story? You were probably on the beach in Florida or something.
That was last week. I was here.
Why does he answer it, folks? Why does he has children with Leah?
Yeah.
He has children with Rachel. Why does he have children with the maidservants? Why?
Well, because
Rachel couldn't have children.
Conceive.
Rachel couldn't have children,
Right.
and so she says,
Use my maidservant.
I'll claim them as mine, so to speak, but and what happens to Leah? Leah becomes infertile after having several children, so she says the same thing. So there's a crazy part of the story where the two sisters are like competing with, I can have more kids than you can have. And if I can't have any more kids, my maidservant's going to have more children for him than you're having. It was a very volatile, weird story, a couple chapters back. But that's why. So some of the 12 tribes come from his maidservant. One belonged to Rachel, one belonged to Leah, and then Rachel. But yes, we catch that in the text that we just read. Rachel and her children come forward. Well, we already know about Joseph, but apparently there's some girls there too that haven't been named, which is typical. Okay? Much as my friend Barb hates it. That's how it works. Okay? So, this is good, right? Verse 12. Esau then said, "Let us break camp and be on our way. I will travel alongside you." But Jacob replied, "As my Lord can see, the children are frail. Besides, I am encumbered with the flocks and herds, which now have sucklings. If overdriven for a single day, the whole flock will die. Let my Lord then go on ahead of me, while I proceed more slowly at the pace of the livestock before me, and at the pace of my children, until I join you in Seir." Esau replied, "Let me at least put at your disposal some of the men who are with me." But Jacob said, "For what reason? Please indulge me in this, my lord." So on the same day that Esau began his journey back to Seir, Jacob journeyed to Succoth. There he built a home for himself and made booths for his livestock. That is why the place was called Succoth. Having thus come from Padan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, and he encamped in sight of the city. The plot of ground on which he had pitched his tent, he bought for 100 pieces of bullion from the descendants of Hamor, the founder of Shechem. He set up a memorial stone there and invoked El, the God of Israel. I'm going to skip the next section because it's disturbing. Not that some of this hasn't been. Let me give it to you in a nutshell. One of the women who is named, Dinah, the daughter whom Leah had borne to Jacob, went out to visit some of the women of the land. She is raped, as it might say in your headline. And the point of the story is her brothers take great offense at that, as of course anyone would. And then they create a little army and they go after the perpetrators. So it's a story of justice. It's also a story of Jacob saying to his sons, you can't fly off the handle that easily. You can't take matters into your own hands like that. So I would prefer to skip that. Let's go to chapter 35. God said to Jacob, "Go up now to Bethel, settle there and build an altar there to the God who appeared to you while you were fleeing from your brother Esau." So Jacob told his family and all the others who were with him, "Get rid of the foreign gods that you have among you. Then purify yourselves and put on fresh clothes. We are now to go up to Bethel, and I will build an altar there to the God who answered me in my hour of distress, and who has been with me wherever I have gone." They therefore handed over to Jacob all the foreign gods in their possession, and also the rings they had in their ears. Then, as they set out, a terror from God fell upon the towns round about, so that no one pursued the sons of Jacob. Verse 6. Thus Jacob and all the people who were with him arrived in Luz, that is, Bethel, in the land of Canaan. There he built an altar and named the place Bethel, for it was there that God had revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. Death came to Rebekah's nurse Deborah. She was buried under the oak near Bethel, and it is also called Allon Bakuth. On Jacob's arrival from Padan Aram, God appeared to him again and blessed him. God said to him, "You whose name is Jacob shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. Thus he was named Israel. God also said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful and multiply, which is a quote from where? The creation story. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation indeed, an assembly of nations shall stem from you, and kings shall issue from your loins. The land I once gave to Abraham and Isaac I now give to you, and to your descendants after you will I give this land. Then God departed from him. On the site where God had spoken with him, Jacob set up a memorial stone, and upon it he made a libation and poured out oil. Jacob named the site Bethel, because God had spoken with him there. Before we go any further, what is part of this establishment of him as a family now? He's settling in, right? He's settling down, purchasing land, etc. What is part of it? He says to everybody under his care, what? If you have any idols with you, if you have any foreign gods, bring them to me. It's kind of like a father with his children, right? Okay, if you've got something you shouldn't have, you got cigarettes? Give them to me. Okay? Whatever. But in this case, it's not cigarettes, it's not junk food, it's anybody that has any foreign deities, any local household idols, etc. Let's get rid of them now before we go any further.
Does Rachel bring hers?
We would assume that the stolen ones Rachel had to finally give over. Okay? So, this will be a good place. I think we're probably close to 3:30, aren't we?
3:12.
Yeah, we got some time, but, this will be tough, but it's important to go through it. Then God departed from him. We already did that, on the site where God had spoken with him. Okay, so verse 16. Then they departed from Bethel, but while they still had some distance to go on the way to Ephrath, Rachel began to be in labor and to suffer great distress. So we did not know Rachel is what? Pregnant. This is the first time it's mentioned in this part of the story. And to suffer great distress. When her pangs were most severe, her midwife said to her, have no fear, this time too you will have a son. With her last breath, for she was at the point of death, she called him Benoni. His father, however, named him Benjamin. Thus Rachel died, and she was buried on the road to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a memorial stone on her grave, and the same monument marks Rachel's grave to this day. Was this in the special?
We didn't get this far.
Oh, okay. Well, spoiler alert, I just ruined it for you.
That's okay.
Okay. So, I mean this with all due respect. Rachel dies. How? In childbirth. Dying in childbirth up until about the year 1900 was very, very common.
Oh, yeah.
Rachel only has mom died in childbirth too, right?
Yeah. That's why oftentimes you would have these blended families of, I have 6 children from my first wife and 6 children from my second wife, or whatever the number happens to be, because dying in childbirth was very common, unfortunately. Okay, and so we have the reality of it here for Rachel, his beloved. I'm sorry?
We have a story from Paul Revenue. He's a relative.
Mm.
And it goes back to 16 something. And it lists first wife, second wife,
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
Not so much now.
Yeah.
Way back, they did. He didn't stay single very long.
No, men aren't good at being single. Most of us, at least.
Well, if you have children to take care of, you need to
Exactly.
go on with your
Exactly, Mary. A very good point. Especially if
They're young.
if they're little.
they're little, and especially what? What kind of a society did we have?
You know where the men worked.
A farm, an agrarian society. Okay, I can't watch these 4 little kids who are all under the age of 7 because I need to be where? out in the fields, out taking care of the cattle, et cetera, et cetera. I need to find, it's like those old westerns. I'm going into town to find me another wife. Someone's got to raise these little ones, right? And then they come back on the stagecoach with a new wife and say, this is your new mom. And all the little kids with dirty faces go, hi. And then the story goes on. I mean, how sad, and yet that it's very much a part of history. Okay, so Rachel, his beloved, the wife whom he loves more than anyone else, she dies, giving him one last son, who will be called Benjamin. Benjamin. Okay? Now, I might as well take this opportunity to say this. There are two things you need to know about Ben, as you said. The name Benjamin will be dissected over time so that the name Benjamin will still be spoken normally as Benjamin. But the root of it, Ben, will come to mean son of. So eventually you will have David ben, you will have Solomon ben David, etc., etc.
Okay.
So whenever you see that, it's not that the middle name is Benjamin. It's that the name Ben comes to mean son of.
Oh, that's on the news all the time.
So yeah, exactly. It's still used in the Middle East. There was a leader in Israel, I think, David Ben Gerzon or something like that.
Ben
So whenever,
Gurion.
what is it?
Ben Gurion.
Yeah, there you go. So whenever you see Ben as part of a double name, it doesn't mean Benjamin. It means son of, son of, son of. Okay? So Solomon ben David. Solomon, son of King David, etc. So I just thought we might as well get that out of the way because we're going to run into that down the way. Okay? Always setting the scene for something new. Okay. Jacob set up a memorial stone on Rachel's grave, and the same monument marks Rachel's grave to this day. Israel moved on. Again, keep in mind Israel's not the same as Jacob. Israel moved on and pitched his tent beyond Migdal-Edler. While Israel was encamped in that region, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. When Israel heard of it, he was greatly offended. The sons of Jacob were now 12. The sons of Leah: Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel: Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Rachel's maid Bilhah: Dan and Naphtali. The sons of Leah's maid Zilpah: Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Paddan Aram. Jacob went home to his father Isaac at Mamre in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had stayed. The lifetime of Isaac was 180 years. Then he breathed his last. After a full life, he died as an old man and was taken to his kinsmen. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So, there's a lot in here, and yet the story ends on a very peaceful and positive note, doesn't it?
Yes.
Isaac is an old man, and what does he get as a real gift as an old man?
His sons together.
His sons come back with
Again.
all their family. He gets to see his sons, Jacob and Esau. I say sees literally because he's pretty blind at this point, but you get the point.
I thought he was very, very sick when Jacob left.
Well, he lasted for 20 more years.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
He asked for stew. Why?
Because he was dying.
I'm an old man on my deathbed. That's been at least 20 years before. Okay?
Is
That's like me asking for pie. Oh, I think I'm going to be a goner, Aaron. Quick, make me a pie.
So, what was the mother's name? It was another R.
Rebecca.
Was she still alive, or do we not know?
I think we already buried Rebecca, didn't
Oh,
we?
we already
Yeah.
buried her.
I'm
So
pretty
she
sure we
never
did.
was
I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
No.
We buried her a few chapters
Okay.
back.
Gosh, it's so hard to keep track.
It is. It is. So, the point I was trying to make is Isaac does live to be an old man. He sees his sons and all their families. And what's the real blessing of that? They are at peace with each other. So he can now have a peaceful death, and both of his sons, without any warring between them, lay him to rest. And again, I just want to go back because I just think it's a beautiful way of saying it, and we're going to see this again and again and again in the Old Testament. After a full life, he died as an old man and was taken to his kinsmen. That means he died. Okay, you're also going to hear he was taken to his ancestors is another way that will be, which means after a life in this world, he now returns to his ancestors. Okay, his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. I'm not going to struggle through chapter 36. You're more than welcome to read it tonight. Basically, we've just gone through Jacob's list, right? Israel's list of family. It's going to do the same thing with the Edomites. In other words, with Esau. So that it's given us Jacob's family. It's going to give us Esau's family. As the story continues, no offense, which one is most important to this story?
Jacob.
By far. The Edomites will be referred to. We'll know that they're part of the extended family tree out there, so to speak. But it's going to now turn all, actually, I don't know where you are in your Bible, literally on the page. But mine, you turn the page for chapter 37, and it's all about Joseph and his brothers now. Okay, so we've seen this before, where you have this great little story, and then it shifts. And then you have this great little story, and then it shifts. And you have this wonderful story, and now it's going to shift. And the next story for Genesis, the final story, if you will be the child that was just born, the child that was born of Rachel. Her last one, which was just born, is Benjamin. Okay? So you have sons of servant, sons of Leah, 2 sons of Rachel. Okay? It'll be very important to keep that in your head as the story now continues on. Okay?
Now, you're
Yes.
saying that after this will be about Jacob, but wasn't Esau the eldest?
Yes. But
But
Jacob
Jacob tricked him.
took his birthright.
Yeah, okay.
He took his birthright and he took his blessing of his father.
That's why he was so afraid to meet him again.
Yeah. Yeah. I basically took everything that should have been his, and it's now on me, and look how much I've been blessed. Again, we can't explain that. To our hearts of faith, we kind of go, well, that's kind of a nasty way to get everything, but it must have been God approved. Why? Because it happened. Because it happened and he was blessed abundantly. Okay? So, the last story of Genesis will be Joseph and his brothers. We've got a few minutes, right? Okay. Before we get caught up in this, before we finish the day, next Tuesday is the 5th, correct? And don't we have class on the 5th?
Wasn't on the schedule.
I don't think so.
So it's the 12th?
I think it's the 12th and the 19th, both.
Oh, so they're back to back.
I
Okay,
believe
that's
so.
what confused me.
Because the 5th is voting.
I knew it was the 19th, and I was thinking it was the 5th and the 19th. So it's the 12th and the 19th. Okay, I'm glad I clarified it from my head, along with everybody else. So we don't meet next week.
Yeah.
Is it a primary day? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are
So the
you
12th
here on the
We
12th?
have to vote.
Mhm.
Are you here on the 12th? Because you're not here on the 13th.
Yes, I am here on the 12th, before we hit the road for Virginia.
Okay.
So, in the course of the next 2 weeks, you might as well keep me in your prayers. We're heading to La Crosse for Abby's commencement, and then we're home for like 3 days, and we're heading to Virginia for her boyfriend's commencement. Why? Because the Holy Spirit has told me you may want to do this. But yeah, the 12th I'll be here. That's the Tuesday before we hit the road, I think. So the 12th,
Are you gonna have a class that day?
yeah,
because it's not on the pink sheet.
Really? I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it's, so the 12th and the 19th. So 2 weeks from today, and then a week after that. 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and then we'll bring it to a close so that we can then shift gears to the chosen, whatever else we want to do for the summer, if it ever gets here. Okay? So let's dive into Joseph and his brothers. Jacob settled in the land where his father had stayed, the land of Canaan. This is his family history. When Joseph was 17 years old, he was tending to the flocks with his brothers. He was an assistant to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah, and he brought his father bad reports about them. Tattletale. At 17, really. Verse 3, we've talked about this. Here it is in the text. Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he had made him a long tunic. When his brothers saw their father loved him best of all his sons, they hated him so much they would not even greet him. Ooh, the old silent treatment. Once Joseph had a dream, which he told to his brothers. Listen to this dream I had. There we were, binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose to an upright position, and your sheaves formed a ring around my sheaf and bowed down to it. Are you really going to make yourself king over us, his brothers asked him, or impose your rule on us? So they hated him all the more because of his talk about his dreams. Then Joseph had another dream, and this one too he told to his brothers. I had another dream, he said. This time the sun and the moon and the 11 stars were bowing down to me. Then he also told it to his father. His father reproved him. What is the meaning of this dream of yours? He asked. Can it be that I and your mother and your brothers are to come and bow to the ground before you? So his brothers were wrought up against him, but his father pondered the matter. One day, let me go back to it. Verse 3, Israel loved Joseph the best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he had him made a long tunic. Remember the last day that we're together on the 19th, we're going to watch Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. This is what is called the coat of many colors. Okay? And we'll talk more about that as that last little treat day arrives. Verse 12. One day when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, Your brothers, you know, are tending our flocks at Shechem. Get ready, I will send you to them. I am ready, Joseph answered. Go then, he replied. See if all is well with your brothers in the flocks, and bring back word. So he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph reached Shechem, a man met him as he was wandering about in the fields. What are you looking for? The man asked. I'm looking for my brothers, he answered. Could you please tell me where they are tending the flocks? The man told him, They have moved on from here. In fact, I heard them say, Let us go on to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and caught up with them in Dothan. They noticed him from a distance, and before he came up to him, they plotted to kill him. They said to one another, Here comes that master dreamer. Come on, let us kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns here. We could say that a wild beast devoured him. We shall then see what comes of his dreams. When Reuben heard this, he tried to save him from their hands, saying, We must not take his life. Instead of shedding blood, he continued, just throw him into the cistern there in the desert, but don't kill him outright. His purpose was to rescue him from their hands and restore him to his father. So when Joseph came up to them, they stripped him of the long tunic he had on. Then they took him and threw him into the cistern, which was empty and dry. Then they sat down to their meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels laden with gum, balm, and resin to be taken down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, What is to be gained by killing our brother and concealing his blood? Rather, let us sell him to these Ishmaelites, instead of doing away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh. The brothers agreed. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. Who does he get sold to?
The Ishmaelites.
Pharaoh, right?
Ishmaelites. Where do they come from?
Isaac's brother.
Yeah,
Ishmaelites. Who is Isaac's brother?
Ishmael.
Ishmael. So these are, again, relatives out on the tree. These are the people that eventually will be called the Arab people, the Persian people. Okay? But back in this day, they're called Ishmaelites. So again, you get the sense of everybody's connected, right? Jacob and Esau, different families. Ishmael and Isaac, different families. Okay? So there was something, why is he sold for 20 pieces of silver significant, Mary?
Well, because they sold, Judah.
If only it had been 30, it would have been not on, right? But yeah, you're right. He's sold for 20 pieces of silver. Years later in the Gospels, Jesus is handed over for 30 pieces of silver.
Inflation.
I'm sorry? Yes, inflation. Yeah. Again, if your memory will allow, in the gospel stories, when you're reading through the passion of Jesus, as we just did a few weeks ago, what is said about that? The Sanhedrin paid Judas, I almost said Judah, paid Judas 30 pieces of silver. Do you remember what phrase is added to that?
Blood money.
The price of a man's life. The price of a man's life is what that 30 pieces. So apparently that amount of money must have been used for various situations of trade, so to speak, in terms of a man, a life. That's what a life is worth, 30 pieces of silver, according to the Gospels, at that time. Don't let me run over. Are we getting close?
3:32.
Oh! Now I gotta charge you overtime. Sorry. So we will pick up with, they sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. We'll pick up the story from there, just about to chapter 38. Okay? Cool. See you in church.
Yeah.